Hey, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with a UFC 172 preview video for the big fight, the main event, Jon Jones going up against Glover Teixeira. I know that, honestly, most people on my channel know me as a guy who really gets into really professional wrestling, really conquers and takes over every single, sort of story there is out there, talking about, basically the pay-per-views that are coming up, the fights, the rumors, this, that, and the other. Basically, from listening to the Wrestling Observer Radio with Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, I've recently come into, learning a little bit about MMA. I really only like the main events. That's the only thing that I can really get pumped up for. I don't really know who the other guys are, but hopefully as I watch more fights, I can get more into this, and we'll go from here. But basically, Jon Jones saw this dude on the live with Michael and Kathy. No, not Kathy Lee. Live with Michael Strahan and that blonde chick. And he was pumping up the fight. He looked like a guy that basically was really full of himself, who really wasn't going to take, the biggest full advantage of this fight. Like, he's just going to go in there. Of course, everybody knows his last fight, he won by decision, Alexander Gustafsson, and basically, now he's starting to make excuses for that fight. He's saying that when he came in and he fought that fight, he only, went at it about 80%. He didn't give it his all. He knew that he was better than Alexander, and, it just seems to me like a guy that is really, really making excuses for himself. And at the same point, he's sort of already pointing himself in other directions, like he's not paying attention to this fight as much. I really think he's going to win this fight. I think he is one of the best, fastest, strongest striking elbows there is in the game. I think that, basically the videos and the pre-fight stuff that I watched from this guy, the way he throws elbows in the ring, he's able to knock out anybody at any time inside of the ring. Of course, this is a guy who's never really lost a fight. He does have a one loss on his record, but he was not knocked out. He did not lose to the decision. He basically lost because, the referee thought that he was throwing downward-facing elbows. You're not allowed to boom strike like that, and they called for a DQ, and he's never been able to get that win, he's never been able to get that loss taken off of his record, being 13-1 in UFC. Glover Teixeira, although he hasn't fought big names in the UFC, is coming in. He hasn't lost a fight in his last 20 fights, although he hasn't fought the biggest names. I didn't really talk about Jon Jones going out and saying that he wanted to fight Chuck Liddell. Basically, that I think is one of the biggest distractions out there. Chuck Liddell is a guy who lost 4 of his last 5 fights. He hasn't had a fight since 2010, so he hasn't been in the ring in 4 years. And basically, all the guy does now is Miller Lite commercials. He still trains down in San Luis. He lives somewhere down there in Southern California. He trains down there, and he's not getting back in the ring. There's no amount of money. He's not, the Undertaker. He's not some guy who's, going to be able to take, 4 years off, jump back in the UFC ring and think he's going to get a win over a guy like Jon Jones. John's either, getting himself distracted where he's setting himself up to lose the fight, or he's just playing with everyone's emotions, just trying to make the best of this weekend, trying to make himself a bigger star and a bigger name. He's already the UFC light heavyweight champion. I think that's enough for you. But Glover is a great guy that could go out there, and he could knock out Jon Jones. I could see this fight probably going down to the end. He hasn't fought the biggest names in UFC, but he does have 20 wins in a row, coming in at 22-2. The last fight he lost was only his 4th pro fight. So this guy is good. I mean, he's a 34-year-old. He's a Brazilian guy, so he's got a great background. This is going to be a good fight. I mean, this is going to be a real bashing, of 2 guys really going at it, that really want to have it. Jon Jones is the guy that really wants to live it up. This is probably a fight that's going to be worth the money. When it comes down to it, when it all comes down, people are going to say that they're glad that they ordered this fight. So we'll see where it goes from here. Tomorrow night, UFC, this is going to be 172, Jones versus Teixeira. I don't know anything about the undercard, so we can't go from there. But we'll talk about this tomorrow night after the show. We'll see if this was a good fight, what's going to go from here. Of course, everybody knows about the big fights. It's going to be happening 4th of July weekend. That's some fights that I'm really, really looking forward to. That's one that's really going to be worth the money. You got 3 big names, 3 big main events. Of course, everybody knows that the 4th of July show is going to be the UFC's WrestleMania. They basically have UFC access and all this stuff. Everybody goes in there for the big conventions. And it's going to be a big one. But here we are this weekend, UFC 172, Jones versus Teixeira. This is your preview video, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night.